Good morning, my name is Kirsty Dignam and I'm here to look at the energies for the week ahead on the 6th of July 2026 with one question, well, the question: how willing are we to wait, to hold space for, well, to recognise what holding space actually is without filling the gaps, and to wait for something different to come in. This whole video could just be me here sat looking at the screen, and leaning into that there's a temptation to stop the video, to pause the video, to panic, yes, to panic, to want to figure things out in order to have some kind of control that comes from a place of doubt. Easier said than done, of course, when we're disconnected from what we feel. When we are really united with our body and what is going on for us, it is less about figuring things out or understanding things and more about becoming part of it in order to change what is happening. Many of us know that. Many of us doubt that. Many of us on a subconscious level don't feel able to step into that. Yes, and that's part of the invitation this week. What happens when we wait? What happens when we allow space for something different to come through, not just with the world, but with ourselves? How willing are we to do that? You know, I'm looking at the picture in front of me and the painting in front of me, and it has a young bird being fed from the bones of the ancestors, and all I can see is the vocal cord, and I've shared that many times in many videos, and that feels really relevant. The decision now, the choice now, if there isn't anything different, to decide not to continue sharing what was just because there's nothing new at present. To not overstretch very, very, very young vocal cords, young in species, young in wisdom we've received, young in comparison to potential, our own included. What happens when we just give space for that to come in? Well, there is a temptation to feel as if everything has changed, everything has shifted. No, to doubt what we came here to do, to complicate things, to muddy the waters, to make things harder than they need to be. And that's a very difficult thing to come to terms with. To recognise our own suffering within a situation and our own place within that can be very, very difficult. And this isn't about judgment. This isn't about pointing fingers and da da da. This is about release now. This is permission now to say, okay, I have walked this path, I have done this, I have experienced this, I have, for want of a better phrase in human language, earned this. Although, of course, where does that belief come from? To earn who we are. There is a decision that can be made around this now. But it does encourage that we release the need for repetition when we're uncertain of something different. Different being the emphasis. Coming back to what we're here to do on a more, it's not a changed level, it's a more evolved. There is such a big vastness between change and evolution. Change is something that is slightly different or tweaked, or in some cases very, very different. But what we do with that change is the evolution. So now I can sit and really fill in the gaps. There's so many synchronicities I could share, and they are relevant to what is going on. My kittens are in a real cycle of habit at the moment. You know, just as we're going into the Lionsgate, they're in a real cycle of habit. I walk into the kitchen and they expect. There's a habit of expectation as we go into the Lionsgate. And that expectation is based on our own experiences of something. So I could very much get tempted to fall into the trap of making this video longer than it needs to be, adding things in to somehow fill it out and make it more viable, more worthy. But the truth of the matter is, I'm here to look at the energies this week, and that is not in alignment with it. It's very swift, it's very clean, it's very decisive this week. I'm going to do that with the use of the tarot, and it is going to demand a level of trust from us all to make space for something different without recreating the same thing. Evolving, thank you. Yes, I've just done that, haven't I? Just recreated the same thing. Evolving. This isn't integration. This isn't change. This is actually evolution. This is, okay, I've discovered this, I've done this, and this is who I am. For many, who I've always been, but with more awareness. So very, very tempted to use the deck that I used last week, which is based around Peruvian medicine. Then very tempted to connect to the earth and messages that wanted to come through. So really undecisive about the cards to use. I was going to use the Sacred She, and what came through very, very clearly, and thank you, there will be some messages no matter what point in your life that will always be relevant to you and the path that you're here to walk. And what came through very clearly for me this morning was applying the medicine, making the everyday sacred. So the deck I'm going to use are the Lightseers Tarot, because they do depict people in more relevant timescale to where we are. However, or moreover, the recognition of sacredness of that. It's a message I stand by. I will always stand by. And that this week, streamlining, coming back to the message we stand by, recognizing there is a difference between opinions, judgments, and values, or at least discerning where there needs to be a difference with those, particularly with our own stuff and our expectations, habitual expectations of who we think we are. In the heart, the kitchen is the heart of the home, right? My kittens, in the heart. Any habitual patterns and expectations we have got into regarding who we are and what we think we deserve, what we think we are here to receive, based on our position in the heart. Okay. I'm very tempted to leave it there, and maybe one day that will come. Maybe the more space that is made for whatever wants to come through, the more that will come. The videos will be shorter. Perhaps they will go to daily. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? Although I do the daily dose. So we will see. And, you know, that's the other thing with evolution and with change. As a species, a lot of change comes through catastrophes, and that's not to say that they're not there, but a lot of change comes through less than pleasant experiences, and we can get really caught up in that. But change happens through pleasantry as well. Change happens by giving space and allowing something different to come in. So next week I could end up doing short videos every day as a result of just not overcomplicating things. Change comes when we simplify. As a species, simplification is often looked down upon. Again, it's that merit, it's that performance. Okay, things have to be really complicated to prove who we are and how much we've earned and how much we've been through, and that's not downplaying that. But there comes a point where we decide what we choose to carry forward for the next generation and for ourselves, include ourselves in the future. Let's not take ourselves out of the future. A lot of my ancestors walked their path and struggled the way that they did and gained the medicine that they did to pass on. Looking back personally, I believe they could have received that more themselves as well. That's what I choose to take forward. Okay, so include yourself in the future of the generations. You're just as valid. Simplify things to make your life more spacious, to allow more flow, to evolve. So we have the Knight of Wands at the bottom of the pack. I'm not going to shuffle the pack again. That feels quite relevant to not overseek answers, but accept the ones that we've been given. Yeah, okay. So recognizing that a lot of the times we seek more answers is we're struggling perhaps to accept what we've been given, and not always in a negative way, but in a positive way as well. I've had a few situations over the weekend where some beautiful, beautiful conversations, and I found them quite difficult to accept because they're not the expectation I have of myself. So just being aware of the what you are banging on about in your energy, in your actions, and whether that is in alignment with not only how other people see you, but your light, whether that is in alignment with your power and your connection to the earth. The horse in the background, the horse year, right? How in alignment are we to our heart? Yes, the horse is about power. Yes, the horse is about strength and freedom and, herd mentality and intelligence. But the horse, I personally have shared over and over because it's my message, recognizing that there are things that we share over and over because it's our message. But if we don't hear our own message, kind of defeats the object. There's a lack of integration there. Yeah, the horse, for me personally, has one of the largest heart fields there are. So really being with that, really stepping into that rhythm within you this week is going to be key. And having some fun with it. Having some fun with it. Knight of Wands, yes, normally that energy is charging in, but actually this character, this feminine character, this intuitive character is alive and lit up and moving and passionate. If that isn't how you feel this week, we're all going to be shown, provided we can make space for it. No, I'm adding that bit. We are all going to be shown what is dimming the light, what is dimming our passion, where we are dimming our light and our passion. I really felt that in my solar plexus. And to just, tap it out, move with it, shift with it, allow the information that's coming in to be the guidance that has always been, regardless of our expectations. Okay, Monday, wow, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, overall. I think there's rubbish men or refuse men outside, or there's a van outside. Let's not make assumptions this week over what is actually going on outside of us. One of the things I was really interested in as I was doing the reading was to feel into certain days that are specific to me this week because of other people, because of external energies, to prepare myself for the external energies, to try and figure things out. But actually there's a lot of noise going on. There's a lot of I see the football team that do the rowing, that do the drumming, that do the rowing, that are getting all of this entrainment, this movement. Okay, recognizing what beat you are being moved to, what system you are working with this week, rather than concentrating on externally, what is going on within. And there's confusion there. No, it's not confusion. Okay, it's not confusion. It's a almost like I felt like a disassociation, like not wanting to know. And I smile, and there's humor, and there is always humor, but humor doesn't mean that it is eradicating the seriousness of situations we may find ourselves in this week. It is the humor is there to give us permission to not overcomplicate the things that don't need to be overcomplicated, so that we can focus on the things that need focusing. And that can be I was going to say difficult. It's not difficult. That can be a wonderful chance to repair the things that have been difficult, to repair us within the things that have been difficult. Overall, the energy is the wild card. That's what I was going to say, yes. I wanted to look at what astrological impact we had. I wanted to see if I could tally up what was in front of me with what was going on around me. And this week there may be that temptation. We may want to blame things on the external. I wanted to say relate, but blame things on the external. Now, it's not to say that there isn't that impact there. Of course there is. But before we figure out what's going on outside, it would be best served to know what is going on within. Okay, and recognizing that we are a reflection of outside and vice versa. The World card. Okay, we can all be in our little bubble, whether that's with astrology, whether that's with our guides, whether that's with the tarot or whatever. We can all, thank you, use it to suit our own narrative. We can all use it to suit our own narrative. Not just in a blinkered way, but to acknowledge that that is what happens. So we can only understand things from the level that we're at unless we make space for something different. In making space for something different, we have a different perspective to things. Okay, so if you find yourself coming up against the same messages, if you find yourself feeling confused, recognize where it's confusion or disassociation from what it is you're trying to seek from within. Anything else on that? No, it feels like there's a yearning for explanation, and the explanation is actually a yearning for comfort, to be held, to feel safe enough to embrace what is going on. So concentrate more on that this week. Don't overcomplicate. The overcomplication of things is making it feel too big. When it feels too big, that's where the fear sets in. Be with what is happening physically, emotionally, spiritually, at the level that it's happening. Yes, our minds will run ahead and feel the potential and see the potential. Just like any woman that comes in early labour, she knows at one point that there's going to be a 10 centimetre or a giving birth or whatever. There's going to be an outcome. We know that there's going to be an outcome of things. And sometimes the fear of karma, sometimes the fear of expectation, sometimes the fear of responsibility can stop us from not doing what we're here to do, because that will happen. And you know, that could be one of the biggest fears, that we don't get to finish what we're here to finish and we come back round. And I'm not going to talk about reincarnation, but look at where it can be a scapegoat. Look at where karma can be a reason not to do things. Look at where the outcome can be an excuse to make things bigger than they are and then not start. Be where you are, be with what you are experiencing, and allow it to help you integrate through application. Recognize the sacredness of yourself as a human with where you are. So overall, we have the World card, right? One thing I've never noticed or never felt drawn to discuss with this card is we do have the sacred geometry all the way around the character in the middle, and the Ouroboros, the snake that eats its own tail, the cycles, the flower of life. But actually the human, again feminine, but the intuitive human here is sacred geometry, is the flower of life, is the threshold of this potential. I'm seeing a lot of people that are, oh, I'm just this and I'm just that and all I do is this and I'm just the channeler, and I do it all the time. I say it all the time. I'm just the hollow bone, the glorified toilet tube, okay, down through me. Now that doesn't mean I negate the fact that my physicality, my presence is just as valuable. You are part of the team. You are part of the rowing. Okay, now decide what team you're going to be part of. Recognize your movement. Recognize where you are headed. And that's overall. On the Monday we have, oh yes, Instagram. Sorry guys, on Instagram it finishes after 20 minutes. So for the rest of the reading, if you want to, pop on over to YouTube and I shall hopefully see you there. Subscribe, just go there. It'll probably be easier. If not, the overall theme this week is the World card. Where do you see yourself in the environment that is being created? Do you see yourself as a valid creator within it? Pop on over. If not, I'll see you next week. For those of you that are on YouTube, or hopefully fingers crossed TikTok, where they let me do the whole video, on the Monday we have the Keeper of the Sacred. We have the Hierophant. We have the Teacher. We have the steps of ascension. Yeah, the illumination of the path before us. what makes us the flower of life, our humanity, our experiences, our processes on the Monday. And we have the reminder that it goes up and it comes down. We have the reminder that there is no set point. Yes, you can go all the way up to there, but what is beyond there? There is the choice to continue moving. That ascension isn't just one moment. Enlightenment isn't just one moment. Or thank you isn't one moment in time, as in an event or an outcome, but it is a moment within us constantly. An energy within us constantly. We have light, we have height, and we have laughter. We have peace and joy. Do we have that in everything that we have gained? How can we get that on the Monday? On the Tuesday, we then have the Eight of Cups. Okay, so yes, of course, this is about moving forward. Yes, of course, this is about taking those steps away from what we were once grieving or what we are done with now. It reminds me of the Viking boats. Now, it's interesting, isn't it, that the Viking energy is coming up with the teams that we're going to be playing. Okay, it's very interesting that we have those two countries, England and I think it's Denmark, isn't it? Or is it Holland? Forgive me, I am a football fan, but not a football fan, so I'm aware of it. It doesn't, I'm aware of it, but it's not impactful in my everyday life. Okay, and that feels quite relevant on the Tuesday. That feels important to acknowledge that we can be aware of things. We can be aware of transformation. We can be aware of things that have changed, things that are evolving, but they don't always have to be. They aren't always actually part of our everyday life, and the opportunity here is to walk away from them. Now, it's not to say that they never existed, it's not to say that they're not still occurring in the background. It's about choosing our direction on the Tuesday. 8 is the master number. Okay, how do we view mastering our emotions here? How do we view mastering our intuitive connection? Again, feminine, although the Monday, the lessons that are coming through are in our actions, because it's a masculine card, although it used to be feminine. Okay, yeah, there's going to be a big shift in regards to how we create things. It used to be very intuitive, and I know there's a real call for it to return to the more feminine way of being. There's a very separate way of looking at things. When we talk about the masculine and we talk about actions, don't overthink it. Actions can be intuitive, but that doesn't mean that they're feminine. It just means that they're more intuitive. You know, the masculine energy is feminine, the feminine energy is masculine. They are one and the same. The separation is something we're all being encouraged to move on from, particularly on the Tuesday, as we walk towards a more sustainable light. And that feels important. On the Monday, we have a light that we don't know where it's going. Even this video, it's like, okay, let's just make space for whatever wants to come through, and to trust that process, to have fun with that process, to lighten up with that process. On the Monday, we may not know where things are going. We know that it's light. We know that there's a bit of a climb. We know that in this moment, all we can do is be open and hopeful and joyful about what we're feeling as much as possible. On the Tuesday, that light, provided we can walk away from the things that do not impact our everyday life, and this is key here. Now, it's not shrugging off responsibility, it's not saying that these things don't matter, but it is saying, okay, you are aware of this, do something about it, but does it impact your everyday life? Is it impacting your everyday life? Does it need to impact your everyday life? Thoughts, mental loop thoughts, distractive energies, just be aware of them. Be aware of what they're doing to your emotions as well, and be aware of the direction that you're taking as a result. If we can do that on the Tuesday, individually and collectively, then that light becomes a lot more obvious. It's the sun. It's a new dawn, although it could be a sunset as well. But either way, it's a beginning and ending. It's an evolution that we're walking towards. On the Wednesday, it's funny, I was looking at the time then. I just thought, well, I didn't do a lot of introduction. Normally the videos take longer because there's a lot of information that wants to come through, or a lot of information that I choose to repeat. And I didn't do that. And a lot of relevance, yeah, that I choose to share. And I didn't actually do that at the beginning of the video. However, the time is still the same. So feeling into this isn't about cutting things out to make things more convenient or efficient on man-made time. The invitation here is to enjoy it. Okay, so when you feel as if you're sharing something or doing something that feels heavy and repetitive, getting rid of that isn't to make more time for more things to come in. It's about enjoying the process. There are times when you know, either in healings or ceremonies or whatever, I can feel the support behind me. And then there are times where my ego takes over and things are longer than they need to be, and I feel that support step back, like, you're on your own, kid. Not, you know, not abandoned, but actually look at what is to be gained, or if there is anything to be gained in what is being shared, or if it's just the dregs of energy that we are struggling just to let go or bring to completion and closure. Particularly on the Wednesday, how do we do that? Does it bring us joy? Do we want, this is that Knight of Wands energy, yeah? Does it make us want to dance? Does it make us want to move? Does it excite us? Does it instill that passion? Also being aware of what once did perhaps doesn't anymore, and that's okay. That's evolution. That's evolution. You know, there are many things in our life that change. Our core values, our purpose, that, like this little air here, moves through it all. That's the rhythm that moves through it all. But how we choose to do that can be as creative as we give it permission to be. Now that can be guides, that can be jobs, that can be socializing, relationships, how you see yourself. This morning I was thinking about strength, knowing that I need to get stronger, immediately going into the mindset of that means more exercise, more this, more that, and actually I need to be stronger in my level of fun and joy and light. And what came through for me at this moment is strength is abundance. Abundance is strength. This vastness, this space, thank you, yes, this space. Normally when we feel into the void, that point of transition, it has a very feminine energy, and it is. It's a receptive energy to start with when we go into that. But when we think about the sacred geometry of the wild card, as us, as people, in that void there is potential for action too. So space has great strength as well, great potential too. It reminds me of the underworld journey. You know, when you go down into the underworld through life's endurances, not forgetting that the other side of the journey is to come back up with what we've gained. Strength is multifaceted, you know, it is our endurances, but it is our beauty and our love and our joy and our light as well, particularly in the world that we live in. On the Thursday, we then have a very nostalgic feel with the Six of Cups. And, you know, normally I don't get into the whole bog standard interpretations, but it feels important on the Thursday to, there is experience before us, particularly like with cards and medicine and cooking and living life from our ancestors, that yes, they bring up nostalgia, but they're also worth really feeling into and taking forward. You know, there are those before us that have been through things and endurances that have a lot of wisdom to be shared. And the moment I said nostalgia here, I really felt my right breast, like the milk was coming in into my right breast. So really feeling where and how those actions need to be nurtured, those actions before us. It's not about changing or getting rid of what we've been handed, but working with it, creating with it, evolving with it. So yeah, an example, the women in my family are incredibly strong. So strength for me is seen as endurance and resilience and resistance at times. That can have another dimension added to it, needs to have another dimension added to it from me and from my sisters and from my nieces, of gentleness and softness and ease and grace and beauty as well, unconditional love and growth, going back to that innocence energy. I think if we could all go back to who we were as a child before life and really tap into that source, or maybe do that on the Thursday. Oh yeah, I am, aren't I? Maybe have a play date on the Thursday, or road trip or something on the Thursday. Go back to that level of joy and innocence and magic and wonder that we had as a child, and bring it forward. Bring it forward into where you are, because it's what's going to shift from change to evolution. It's what's going to reignite the passion. It's what's going to move us through the fear. Now, we don't normally think that, do we? You know, fear is normally, well, we have to be gung-ho, we have to keep pushing, we have to soldier on. But actually, what's going to get us through this, whatever it is we are facing on the Thursday or throughout the week, actually, this transitional point, what's going to get us through this is the expansive wonder of who we were before the pain, who we were before the experiences. Now, experiences are amazing. You know, changes, shifts, transitions, they are incredible. Growth is amazing. But there are elements of who we are that continue to stay with us that haven't for everybody. We all have soul loss, right? That haven't for everybody. So on the Thursday, see it as an opportunity to really look back over your childhood, what you enjoyed doing, how you saw the world, the positive aspects, and bring that forward. If that isn't the case and there are more negative aspects coming forward, seek the help that your inner child needs. And that can be really difficult, can't it? Because, you know, the inner child can be very inconvenient. For some of us, the inner child can be very, it will be fine. You know, I'll just da-da-da and it will be fine. Yes, I'm aware of it. Da-da. Be honest. What does your inner child need? Particularly with repetitive scenarios in relationships or in work or in creativity in particular. What does your inner child actually need? You may be aware of something that is very pattern-like in nature. It could be fear, it could be shame, it could be responsibility. So what do you need in that moment? Can you provide it? If not, seek someone that can. There's no shame in that. There's no, you know, we all need nurture and help at one point. Ensure that you are seeking that from someone that can, which isn't always the person we want it to be. I need to put that out there. It isn't always the person we want it to be. You know, there's been many a dark night on this journey of mine, particularly spiritually, that I would love to discuss with my husband, and he's not that way inclined, and I would have loved it to be him, but it wasn't him, and instead it was other people, and I've managed to expand my social circle as a result. My husband could have quite easily told me what I wanted to hear, but it wasn't what I needed. Be aware of that on the Thursday. On the Friday, we do have the Three of Swords. Now, the reason I want to share this card in particular is it's not like the normal Three of Swords. So there isn't an expansion here. There isn't a heartbreak here. It's being repaired. It's being fixed. However, I want it to be fixed. I can really feel that. I don't want all these beautiful cards and then the Three of Swords at the end. This was the one that I was thinking ahead of the game. The outcome, the expectation, right? No more heartbreak, no more pain. Recognizing that that is how I feel, holding space for that and some compassion for that. There's a lot of times when, you know, I don't think anybody I know has had it easy in life, and there are a lot of times where the memory of that can make us flinch before anything even comes in, and we can want to avoid it as much as possible. Okay, the longing to be fixed, to be healed here, yes, it's healing the heart, but actually it's pulling at it as well. Adhesions, thank you. Yes. Scar tissue, it's pulling at it. It's not actually healing. I have a beautiful, beautiful sore on my lip that I've tried to cover up with foundation and everything else, and it's like, do you know what? It's there. It's in the process of healing, and I need to see it for what it is. Healing is an ongoing process. This desire to get it over and done with, to be fixed, to be done with it, is not only causing scar tissue, okay, which is much fibrous, more fibrous, much tougher, and pulls on all aspects of the body, but it's restricting this person's heart space, not the heart, but the heart space. So on a physical, practical level, looking at our posture, particularly all week, but particularly on the Friday, be mindful of that. That we could all do with strengthening our muscles and our posture. Why is that important? Because it helps us with our connection above and below, but also how open are we physically? You know, are we talking about light and love and with our hearts? How open are we physically to what we are trying to express and who we are trying to be? Are we asking for that promotion at work with our with our head? Yes, how aligned are we in the vibrational frequency of what we're trying to achieve? We can all put on a brave face. We all mask to a level. I experience chronic ailments, and there is an element of masking there in order to get through the day, okay? And we can fool the world around us, but we cannot fool ourselves. So how open are we to the alignment that we're actually in? And that can be, we're low, we feel low, and that's okay. That can be, we feel really good, but we're not sure about how we can show it in people or around people that feel low. You know, there's so many different ways that we mask who we are, and it's that's restricting us. This need to be the perfect heart, be the perfect vibration, be the perfect love. Love isn't perfect, and that's what makes it so perfect. On Saturday, we have the King of Pentacles. A lot more grounded energy. I felt really agitated then, though, that my hair was in the way, which is interesting. So, in many cultures, hair is a very spiritual representation of us to the higher energies, but also the elements around us isn't. Yeah, thank you, Anne. Antenna. And my antenna was getting on my nerves. It got caught under my armpit. It was there comes a point where my hair gets a bit too long for my liking. It gets stuck in things. My antenna gets a bit too extended and it gets in the way. Right as we're looking at the King of Pentacles, so being really grounded, again, the masculine, laughing, the Hierophant, the King of Pentacles, these masculine energies are laughing. The other masculine energy here is very calm, very nostalgic. Our actions, having humour with our actions, being aware that, you know, I want to cut my hair because it's getting in the way. I want to shorten my antenna because it's not convenient. And the stories that we ground ourselves in with that. There's been many a time I want to downplay who I am because, yeah, I don't want to seem too big or da-da-da. You know, ego comes in many ways, shapes and forms. It's not just, particularly with Jupiter and Leo. Thank you. Yes, there's the astrology. Particularly with Jupiter and Leo, we can think of the Six of Wands. We're victorious. Look how great we're doing. That can be a real assumption. The ego is very arrogant, okay, very proud. That the Leo is very arrogant, very proud, very strong, very resilient. Yes, 100%. But where is that energy coming from? What are we trying to prove? What are we fighting? What are we really resisting? Jupiter and Leo is an internal card. I have Jupiter and Leo. The Six of Wands is an internal card. It is a harmony and balance of how open our heart is and how comfortable we feel with that. And one of the sides of the ego can be downplaying who we are also. Be wary of your own stories that you have grounded yourself in. Yeah, I have one where it's not safe to be in my fullest expression. We all do. We all have very similar stories, but that doesn't mean they play out in the same way, including Jupiter and Leo, right? So where is it opening up for you? I'd love to know. Where is your heart feeling quite expansive? Where are you feeling as if you're excelling or being called to excel? How do you feel about that? Share your stories. That's the other thing, isn't it, with so much social media and so much, you know, years ago you don't, even now I think, oh my god, I'm in front of a camera. Years ago you'd only really be in front of a camera on TV. YouTube can be on TV, right? On TV or whatever, if you were a famous person. Now everyone can do it, and it's amazing. Yeah, absolutely amazing. But with that comes an essence of performance. With everything, with the clothes that we wear, with the holidays that we're on, they have to have the right sort of snap to them. Our meals have to look good. My gosh, if I took pictures of half my food, our meals have to, they look good to me. Our meals have to have a certain standard. Our relationships have to have a certain standard. Healing has to have a certain standard. Business has to have a certain standard. That isn't always honest, and I'm going to put it out there. I get a lot of people that on one level are doing really well or claiming that they're doing really well, and when they come to me they're not as aligned as they could be. Now that doesn't mean that that isn't a potential for them, but until we can acknowledge where we are, the story that we're in, we cannot change it. We cannot change it. There's a lot of masking that is going on, which is stopping the page from being turned. So where are we grounded on the Saturday? Where are we grounded? And there isn't judgment here. We all do it. We all put on a brave face. This isn't about telling the world where you don't have to express everything, all your vulnerabilities and overshare like some of us do. I don't have a problem with it, but it's each to their own. But this is about being honest with yourself. And recognizing that not everybody, not all is as it seems in the social media world. Why is that important? It doesn't matter what's happening with anybody else in regards to your own journey. It's important if you compare it. That's why it's important. If you're looking at yourself thinking, oh, I'm not doing this right because of da-da-da-da-da, so-and-so is doing it this way, you're losing the essence that you came here to bring. And that's important. Of course, it's not going to be fun because you're living someone else's life. So bring it back to what you bring to the table, your story, and be honest with that. On the Sunday, we then have the moon card. I need to do a plug for myself on the Saturday, apparently. Yes, on the Saturday I'm at the market in Porchester, in the village. And that's where I feel my throat getting quite sore and changing. Okay, the young vocal cords. Start promoting yourself for who you are, as you are. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait to be the same as somebody else. Promote yourself for who you are, as you are. And if that's nerve-wracking, find someone that can help support you in that, or a way that supports you in that. Treat yourself to something that you do. Yeah, the habitual behaviors of my kittens. Treat yourself. When you come into the heart, recognize that's a treat in itself, but treat yourself every time that you do. It doesn't have to be financial. You may come into your heart and think, I want to go for a walk. Don't put it off. As soon as you can, go for that walk. You might come into your heart and think, oh, I fancy doing some painting. Don't put it off. Do some painting. You might come into your heart and think, I want to bang the drum like the Knight of Wands. Then bang the drum. I've just seen the horse. So yes, I obviously need to go around more horses, which is ironically the one thing I'm probably putting off more. But look at the thing that you're putting off. Come into the heart and give yourself permission to have that. Treat yourself every time that you do. Recreate. Habits take 2 weeks, right, to recreate. Recreate your habits. You know, a lot of us will give ourselves time, nurture and time out, creative space once we've got burnt out first or once we've endured things first. If we want to create a different story, then we need to start looking at the habits of the old ones, the habits behind the old ones. For me, a lot of the things I change about my health normally take something not great to happen with my health for me to do it. getting better, but there are moments where, I think, oh, I've done this, this, and this for everybody, and I have a blowout. Okay, so it's our responsibility to restore that balance by recognizing when that's building up, when that overwhelm is building up, when that Jupiter and Leo, that lion heart, is getting a little bit aggy. And come into the heart space and treat yourself to whatever it is you need in that energy. On the Sunday, there is a calmness that starts to come. It's the first time I've seen the moon card as a calmness. It's the first time I've seen what is normally explained as illusion and confusion as a calmness. As a, rather than spiraling out, spiraling within. If there are moments where you aren't sure, recognize that going into the unknown doesn't mean that you're not doing anything. First and foremost, it's the most powerful thing that you can do. Going within to your emotions doesn't mean that you're not doing anything. Staying in them when there's an opportunity to come out of them with the information that you've gained can be what's leading to this emotional oppression. Repeating things, not being honest with things, yes, but acknowledging where you may have peace with that, acknowledging where you may be okay with that and why you may be okay with that. Seeing your own shortcomings for the story that it has become, the convenient story that it has become. Being aware of what could potentially reside beyond that now and how you may feel about it. There are many things that I want to take forward from my ancestry, and with that comes a certain level of loyalty to the path of those before me that could stop me taking these things forward. There's a big difference between loyalty and restriction, especially with Jupiter and Leo. Leos are very loyal. I'm not just talking about the astrology, I'm talking about the energy of Leo, or the energy of the heart. Thank you. Anything that comes from the heart is very loyal. Yeah, anything that comes from that space of beauty and love can be very, very loyal, very, very open, very, very vulnerable. No one's asking us to move away from that, but take that with us. Okay, no one's suggesting that we ignore the experiences that have occurred, that we downplay them, that we mask them. No one is suggesting that we overshare them or recreate them, but that we become them, not in their wounding, but in their healing. Is there anything else? I think I'm going to leave it. Yeah, I'm going to leave it there, because that is the value that I would always stand by. Become what you've experienced. Become who you are. Take the wisdom forward in how you apply it to life. Anything else is just an illusion, right? Take care. I'll see you next week.